At what age are you officially old and vulnerable? In this video, let's answer that question and also get into the things that they don't tell you about being in your 60s. According to the National Health Service here in the UK, I am now officially old and vulnerable. The other day, I got a text message from the NHS inviting me to have my flu jab because I am in a group of people that reach the age of 65 by March 2026. And that group of people includes my 95-year-old Uncle Archie and my wife's parents who are in their 80s. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they're old. I'm not. That text message did get me thinking though. It got me thinking, if the NHS thinks I'm old, who else thinks I'm old? Well, anybody under 40, probably. That's karma for you. When I was in my 30s, I thought people who were in their 60s were old. Hell, I thought people in their 40s were old. I was ageist in my 30s. So what goes around comes around. Yeah, the under 40s, if you're in your 60s, they definitely think you're a dinosaur, a relic from a bygone age. And if you're still working for younger bosses, they probably think you're a fossil. You can bet your life they will be discussing how to free up your future. And trust me, if you're in your 60s and you're job hunting, all those young recruiters and recruiting managers, I think they call them people team now, don't they? Back in my day, they were called HR. They think you're past it, really. They're just not saying it because they're not allowed to. It's not politically correct, is it? But don't worry, you don't have to put your age on your CV. That'll work, right? If you're in your 60s, I think you've got to wake up to the fact that you've probably peaked when it comes to career. The chances are your career is now over. Those under 40s, do they really want to hire people in their 60s? Probably not. They probably see you as a stubborn, grumpy old git who's used to using a landline telephone, reading a print newspaper, and playing vinyl records on their record player, right? And what's wrong with that, eh? Wasn't it great in the 1970s? Well, yeah, it was when the electricity was on. Wonderful times. Black and white TV with just 2 channels that didn't come on till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, great times. I don't know about you, but I don't miss them. Were things really better in the 1970s? I think they probably weren't. It's like any decade. There were pluses and there were minuses, just like there are with this decade. I did notice how my business advisory work started to dry up from about my mid-50s, and it had completely gone by the time I was 60, because the potential customers were CEOs and managing directors running small businesses who were in their mid-30s or early 40s. And when I first started doing it when I was 50, there wasn't that big of an age gap between me and them, but now at 64 I'm probably old enough to be their dad. And when I was 50, I hadn't been out of the game that long, but now it's been a long time since I ran a recruitment company. So I'm just making the assumption that they think I'm old and past it, and I can't possibly know what's going on in business because my experience comes from the 80s and the 90s and the early part of the century. How wrong they are. Being old and past it isn't defined by age, it's defined by a mindset. Hell, I've employed people who were in their 20s and 30s, who were old and past it then for one simple reason. They didn't have a growth mindset. They weren't interested in learning new things. I'm interested in learning new technologies. I've adapted to the internet age. I'm adapting to the AI age. ChatGPT is my personal assistant. Just because I'm 64 doesn't mean I'm past it from a business point of view. Who knows? I may yet unretire just to prove the young bastards wrong. I might actually start another business. I've often wondered if I had another one in me. Let's face it, we wouldn't have KFC if Colonel Saunders had thought he was past it. Your 60s are not without their challenges. Ageism, obviously, and health. Your 60s are when the wheels can start to fall off. They certainly did for me. I've had a few health issues since I turned 60. And AI, possibly taking your job. I was chatting to a chap the other day who was a copywriter, and he was firmly of the opinion that AI had taken away his job. So that's definitely a thing. But on the whole, it's a great decade. It could be the last one where you're healthy enough and energetic enough to do the things that you really want to do. If my good friend, who's an orthopedic surgeon, is right, he thinks that the wheels fall off after you're 70. So now is definitely the time to get the rewards of 4 decades of adult life. I was born in 1961, so that officially makes me a boomer. But anybody who was born in the 1950s and 1960s and grew up in the 60s and 70s, the boomers and Generation X, we are the most adaptable generation that's ever lived. We have lived through technological, political and social change like no other generation. And we have learned and adapted. We have seen huge leaps in technology and adapted to them all. I know I have, and I'm sure you have too. Hell, we were behind most of them. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they were boomers. Here are just some of the things that we've adapted to and lived through. Phones. I remember having to go down to the local phone box to call my girlfriend. Then my mum and dad got a phone put in the kitchen on the wall. In the late 80s, early 90s, I can remember getting my first mobile phone. It was fixed in the car. Then it was the Nokia phone and the BlackBerry. Remember them? And now the iPhone. And I've adapted to all of them. The iPhone, in fact, is a mini computer. And I remember getting my first computer at home. It was an Amstrad. Sir Alan Sugar, he was the one who brought those out with floppy disks. I did my very first business plan for my business on an Amstrad. Now I do everything on an iPad, and I have adapted. I talked about television earlier in the 1970s. I can remember my mum and dad getting really excited when their new TV arrived. It was black and white and they rented it from a shop in York. Then they got a colour one. Now we watch YouTube on television and we watch movies on Netflix. I can remember going down to the local Blockbuster to rent a video cassette to watch on a Saturday night. Spent hours in Blockbuster perusing the shelves with all the different VHS videos on. Unbelievable to think that I can now scour the film library that used to take me hours in Blockbuster on my iPhone. I can also use my iPhone to listen to my favourite music tracks. I can remember when the only way you could listen to music was either on the radio or by putting a vinyl record on your record player. Me and my mates, we used to go down at lunchtime into the local town to the local record shop and look at the discs, look at the cover art, and we used to go into these booths and put our headphones on and listen to them. Here in the UK, one of my favourite programmes was Top of the Pops. I used to position my tape player with microphone attached to actually record it and create little cassette tapes of my favourite tracks. My mum and dad used to go on holiday and take their cine camera with them. And when we got home, we used to get it processed and we used to watch it. No sound. I can remember going on holiday with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we used to get some rolls of film, take our camera with us and snap a record of our holiday. And when we got home, we used to take it to the local Boots to get the films processed. And about 5 days later, we were able to pick them up and look at our holiday snaps. Now it's all on the iPhone, just like the video that my mum and dad used to take, now on the iPhone. When I first started in my business, I used to have a dictaphone and I used to have little tapes that I put in it and I recorded things, letters that I was sending to people, and then my secretary typed it up. Now I use ChatGPT and I transcribe my voice straight through the iPhone. So the point I'm trying to make is, I'm not nostalgic for those times. They were fun then, but things move on, and I've moved on too. I've adapted, just like you, the most adaptable generation that ever lived. As far as I'm concerned, there's only one thing that is brilliant from the 1970s that's never been much good after 1979, and that's music. How can anything better David Bowie, the ultimate baby boomer? So if anyone says that you're past it because you're in your 60s, tell them to get stuffed. If this video resonated with you, you might want to watch this one next. It's the 5 things that don't make any sense after 60. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.